right, guys, we've made it to the last lesson in this section, a very important section that's going to be about building marketing plans for your business. This lesson is less of a how-to and more of a walkthrough. I'm going to show you guys some of the marketing plans I've made for my business and one that I've made for another company. I kind of adapted it and took the branding out of it so I can show you guys in this lesson. Our last lesson, we kind of made some one-page marketing plans. By the end of them, you can see we had strategies, overview, tactics, and KPIs. That's kind of an overall marketing plan. But today, we're going to talk about how we can take some of those one-page ideas and turn them into a full-fledged deck, something you can share with your team or other people. Before we take a look at some of the examples, we are still going to learn a couple of things in this lesson. And we're going to learn about presentation, how to take those things and make them into a cohesive deck. We'll talk about reporting and how you can use these decks to talk about your campaign after they've ended. And then after I've shown you some of my fancy decks, I'll show you how you can make some of your own. Before we dive into my examples, let me go over a couple of sections that we haven't talked about yet. The first is going to be an executive summary. This is going to be the introduction into your marketing campaign report. And instead of focusing on your company or you as the owner or even diving deep into your objectives just yet, use this as a space to tell a story about what your marketing plan will address. Also, make sure you mention the important things that are going to be inside the plan. Some of your team or some other people may not need every part in your marketing report. And so you want to make sure that you have an executive summary that lets everyone know what you're going to be talking about. And again, focus on telling a story here. That way it'll be easier to match your objectives with some of the things inside the report. The next section is going to be a conclusion, and you want to make sure that after you talk about your strategy and your metrics and all of these numbers and details, you want to wrap up your presentation explaining how all of these things can relate together. Or you want to just wrap it up with something. Every kind of marketing plan will not need a conclusion, but if this is a broad marketing plan that's going to go over a lot of different details, you want to make sure to come back at the end and just restate your story and how all of these things can work together. Again, not every marketing plan is going to have a conclusion, but you don't want to just leave your marketing plan just high and dry at the end. And again, remember, there's no one-size-fits-all template for marketing plans. Every business, campaign, project will have a different objective and may require different sections or things to be omitted. Remember that every slide should support your story that you're telling in your presentation. Don't include things just because they're standard or other people have them in their presentations. If it distracts from your overall goal or helping support your campaign objective or your channel objectives, then remove it from your campaign and only focus on those things that are needed. Even though I'm going to show you some examples of things that I use, you'll see that in my two examples, they both have different sections that relate to what I'm trying to convey. So let's dive into some examples. In these examples, I don't want you to pay attention to all of the details because remember, you're not going to be marketing these businesses, but I want you to pay attention to how I laid them out, how they're different, and what kind of things I included as a way to hit the goals and objectives I laid out. Now, I didn't create these decks in the example with the thought that I would be right here in your top right-hand corner. And so I'm going to remove myself so that you can see the full deck. And also, we're going to lose the branding of our course. That's okay. I want you guys to really pay attention to what I'm going to show you. Our first deck is going to be one that I made for my baby company, My Proud Baby. This is one that I use for my quarterly marketing plan. Jumping right in, this is the executive summary for this report, and to paraphrase it, I had a little bit of trouble with my marketing where I wanted to change my marketing from being focused on Black-owned keywords to being focused on new mom and mom-targeted keywords. I included some of our audience information. You can remember in our earlier sessions, we made personas. This is a persona that I made for my brand. I named her Woke Moms. Instead of naming her something like Catherine, something like that we saw in our persona worksheet, I named her Woke Moms, and I included a lot of information that we did on our persona worksheet. I also included the new target demographic of new moms with some of the same information. From there, I went into my objectives. You can see that I want to grow my IG following to 5K. I want to get my email subscribers to 25%. I want to get my web traffic to 2,000 monthly. I want to get a domain authority over 10. And I want to have gross sales over 5,000. I have tactic goals in here, campaign goals, channel goals, and broad goals in here. And you can see they are all SMART objectives. As we move through the marketing report, I start detailing some of the tactics I'm going to take for each of those goals laid out in the objectives. You can see for this goal, I want to post 3 times a week, and I also want to use paid social ads. I have my KPIs I'm going to be tracking on this page as well. Moving through, I have some examples of the kind of things that we're going to be posting in order to achieve that goal. And you can see as we move through this marketing plan, I have strategies for each of my goals. And not only that, some of them I have example callouts as well for how I'm going to use my digital channel mix and how I'm going to use my individual channels to reach the goals that I have laid out. Some of the goals have a lot of strategies, and some of them maybe only have 1 or 2, but each of them are detailed for how I'm going to hit my goal. And then I wrap up by, again, saying what my goals are and talking about how I'm going to use a multi-channel strategy in order to hit my goals. You can see this is a very to-the-point marketing plan. It doesn't have a lot of fluff in here. It just has a lot of tactics and strategies on how I'm going to hit each of my individual goals. Hey, I'm back. Okay, I know I went through that pretty fast, but you guys know that you can download the lesson slides and you can look at them in detail and you can see what are all the specific strategies and tactics that I use in that marketing plan to try to hit some of the goals that I have laid out. You can also click around and look at my KPI tracker and things like that to see how you can use those for your brand as well. I have one more example for you guys, and this is going to be a lot different because this marketing plan is specifically for only one channel. And we'll see how we can take one channel and create a whole marketing plan out of just doing one objective. This is a campaign built around Google PPC, which is also another word for Google Ads. And although I tell you guys how to make an integrated or omni-channel approach for marketing your brands, sometimes you need a full detailed campaign that is only for one channel. In this overview here, you can see it has a very different layout than our last one, but it still has all of the same information. The business name, our objectives, the audience that we're going to be targeting. Some of the main campaign goals are laid out on this page and the KPIs. With a campaign that's just for one channel, it's a little easier to get a snapshot of what we're going to be targeting all on one page here. And you can see in the last campaign, we had a more persona breakdown of our audience. Here, we just simply state our audience is going to be men and women 35 to 50, travelers who are looking for bespoke, exclusive feeling experiences. Our objectives are still right there. We want 2,000 unique site monthly visitors, and we want 50 tours per month from our PPC campaigns. Those are smart objectives, they're obtainable, and our KPIs to guide our campaign are also listed right here on this page. Now, with tactic and objective-based marketing plans, you may not see things like a digital channel mix. There's only one channel, but you will have to include a lot of supporting details about how you're going to run that campaign. This campaign includes a lot of keywords in it. It also includes a site structure that shows exactly how the ads are going to be delivered and what keywords are going to be in each ad. This marketing plan also has an explanation of how the campaign is broken down. For really technical marketing plans, this is going to be important for anyone who doesn't have the skills or knowledge about the details of the campaign to still get an idea of how the campaign is going to work. After that, we move into some budgeting details and then some examples of how the ads will look themselves. A great thing about a campaign like this is that later on, after the campaign has been delivered, you can use the same deck to go back and add results that show how the campaign performed. In this one, I've taken out a lot of the details, but you can do simple things like this where you show an overall snapshot of the impressions, the clicks, and the sales, and then you can include a button here that takes you to a full campaign dashboard that might have more details on the audience and individual ad performance. You can also add something like future optimizations that can explain to you, your team, or your stakeholders how you may make this campaign perform even better in the future, or go over some of the findings that you found while running your campaign. And if you're sharing this report or you built this report for someone else, maybe like your boss or other stakeholders, you never want to forget the details on how they can find you and how they can get more information about more insights into the report. Hey, I'm back. Okay, so the first thing that usually happens after I show someone some of my decks is they say, "Whoa, those are nice. How do I get one of those for myself?" Or they may say, "Oh, wow, can you make one of those for me?" And the answer is yes. Book a consultation. I'll help you out. Or you can look at some of these resources that I'm going to share with you to help you get your decks to the next level. Now, I use Google Slides for all of my deck presentations because it's free. But here's a couple of other places that you may be able to use. Canva can also be free, but they also have some really good deck presenting tools there. Some of them move and integrate really well with your branding. You also can use Prezi, SlidesGlow, and you can use Envato to find templates to use across all kinds of different places. Now, one thing you want to make sure you do is if you ever use a template to make a deck for your brand, change the colors. Don't ever use the stock colors because they probably don't match your branding. Change the colors and add all of your logos and things like that to make your deck stand out and look just like your brand. And just like that, we've made it through another lesson. I know I kind of sped through the decks on this lesson, but that's because I didn't want you guys to get caught up on the details in my decks, more so how I laid them out. Remember, those decks are always in the bottom of these lessons, so you can go through this lesson and you can see exactly the kind of details I put inside of my marketing plans. But for today, I wanted you just to get a broad example of how they can look different and how they don't even include the same things. So remember, we went over kind of the presentation of the marketing plans. I showed you how you can use some of them to put some reports in after your campaigns are over. And I gave you guys a little bit of game on how you can make some of these decks yourself. As always, I hope that you learned something. I hope you had fun, and I hope I see you for our next lesson, which is another section, which is going to be about how you can get better quality leads for your business. I'll see you guys there.